You are listening to the Technical File Podcast for Sunday, July 8th, 2018. I am your host, Manny Fresh. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. I am. It's finally starting to feel like summer, where I live. Finally. Well, it's been warm, but, it's kind of weird. We'll have like 2 days where it's really warm, and then we'll have like 2 really cloudy, breezy days. Then we'll have like a day of rain mixed with sun, and then like we'll have hot again. So it's kind of been a weird, beginning to summer here in Washington State, but it's finally starting to feel like summer. And like I said before, it doesn't really get too hot here. I mean, we have about a week stretch where it really gets hot, like maybe like a week to 10 days where it's like above 90, maybe 88 to 90-ish degrees, random times it might get 100 here and there. But for the most part, I mean, we never really have those hot days. Some summers, it depends, some summers are hotter than other summers. But for the most part, it's mostly 75 to about 85, 70, 87 degrees, give or take. So yeah, it's starting to feel like summer finally. So, hope everybody's enjoying the weather, staying cool. I know there's been a heat wave all throughout the country. I know on the East Coast has been hot, and, down south is always hot, of course. So, hope everybody's staying cool. But, my bad for no show last week. I actually had a show recorded, ready to go, edited, everything last week. I did it during the day, obviously, like when I normally do my shows, and I had it ready to load, and I was like, and then my thinking was like, well, we weren't going to get an announcement from LeBron last Sunday. That was my thinking. I was like, at the very, very earliest, we would probably get an announcement maybe Tuesday before the 4th of July. Cause that's what kind of the rumors were, that he was going to make a decision before July 4th. But I figured maybe like Monday or Tuesday. So I figured, okay, put the podcast up. I had talked about the Lakers and, whether they should sign LeBron or not, obviously free agency, Chris Paul George, all that stuff. And then of course I had talked about some Yankees, Red Sox stuff. So I had a full show already planned, ready to go. And of course, I'm feeding my daughter, and, I'm getting that done so I can upload the podcast. And of course the LeBron news breaks. And of course anything driven by LeBron, it's like world breaking news. So, I jumped on a couple podcasts. I did a guest appearance on the Dead End Sports podcast last week. Shout out to those boys, for having me on the show last week. If you haven't listened to it, go check that out. It's Dead End Sports. You can find it everywhere: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere where you can find podcasts. Dead End Sports, we're there. YouTube as well. So, I jumped on the show. We kind of did our instant reactions to LeBron, and then I'm sitting there like, man, should I really post this podcast episode? Cause now it's like completely null and void. Like sometimes like you don't care like when like big news comes out, because you still have a show that covers a lot of different topics. So most people can kind of forgive you when you're not current on a particular topic. Like I've had shows where like I've done something on a particular topic, and then a breaking news happens like literally after I post my show. So, most of the times but I felt like with the LeBron signing, and obviously everybody knows I'm a Laker fan, it kind of was like, okay, I can't post this show now. Like I could have posted it still, but, I felt like, you know what? Let me just take a week off, let the news and everything marinate, and then I'll come back next Sunday, rock and roll and ready to go. So, I tried to line up a couple guests, but with the 4th of July holiday and all that, it just became tricky. So, I kind of scrapped the podcast, and I was like, you know what? Let me just record a new episode this week. So that's where we're at. So if you guys were looking or wondering for an episode last week, sorry we didn't get an episode out. It wasn't planned. It was certainly going to be an episode last week, but we just didn't did for the LeBron news. Thanks, LeBron. It kind of just became pointless to drop an episode talking about what if LeBron signed, and then LeBron signs, ta-da, like a couple hours later. So, and then I didn't want to have to come back like on Monday or Tuesday and do another episode of the podcast talking about LeBron. So I figured I'd wait. And, so that's why we're here. So obviously the big news, LeBron, is a Laker now. Honestly, it's weird to wrap my head around it, because I don't know, like, it's still weird for me. Cause I talked about it on DES last week, and I talked about it on Twitter and Facebook and some other places, that it's weird for me, because I've spent 13, 14 years of my life hating on LeBron James, and now he's going to be on my team. It's like the ultimate sports karma. Like the sports gods were definitely fucking with me when this decision happened. It's like, you know what would be fun? To put his most hated player on the team he loves the most. Like, it's like, geez, like really? That's like putting Bryce Harper on the Mets. It's a little different because I don't hate Bryce Harper to the level that I hate LeBron James, but, it's similar. It's similar. It's like putting Tom Brady on the Jets. It's like, really? Like, this is where and I'm forced to root for this guy now. But yeah, I mean, he's a Laker. So, I've had a week to digest it. And I mean, really, there is no surprise. I mean, this has been in the works now for about a year. Everybody's been talking about it. Everybody knew that there was some possibility. I always kind of felt that there was a stronger possibility that he would stay. Maybe that was wishful thinking. Who knows? But I always kind of felt like there was a strong possibility that he would stay. Because I don't think the reasons that I argued were, number one, why would he go to LA and compete with the Warriors straight on like that? Like, why would you if you're having trouble beating the Warriors 2 times a year and in the finals, why would you go to the Western Conference where you have to play the Warriors 4 times and, play them in the conference semis or something? Like, it made no sense for me, but that was the reasons that I argued. And also his ties to Cleveland. And I always kind of felt like, did LeBron kind of want to do that again? Did he want to leave Cleveland again after everything that had happened in the past with the decision? Although things are different this time. It's not the vitriol or the anger I sense. I think if Cleveland fans were kind of honest with themselves, I think they kind of feel like, you know what? It was time. I don't want to say all of them. But I think there is an element of, you know what, it's time to move on. We've done this for 13 years or so on and off. Maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to freshen things up around here. I'm just totally guessing here. Cleveland fans are probably depressed, and I have some Cleveland fans in my family. They're upset. So I don't want to act like I am the voice of Ohio, because I'm not, but it doesn't seem like it's the same anger or vitriol that was involved with the decision. Obviously things are different now. He did win a championship there. LeBron seems a little bit more mature in that respect as far as just kind of not making a spectacle of things. So the level of anger is a little different, but I always kind of felt like when push comes to shove, LeBron was going to stay in Cleveland, or at least I didn't think he would stay long term. I kind of saw it as he probably signed another 1 year and an opt out, which and I talked about the unreleased podcast, I'm going to call it, the unreleased episode last week, where I was imploring LeBron. I was like, if wherever you sign, like, commit long term, enough with these 1 and outs, 1 and dones, 2 and 1, 2 and an opt out year contracts. Like, it's annoying. And I feel like it really hurts the team. A lot of people disagree with me with that. I think it hurts the teams he's on, because I think there's this constant state of limbo. There's a constant state of flux that, is this guy committed long term? Is he leaving? Is he staying? Is he going? I do think it hurts. I don't know about Miami, because he was in Miami for 4 years, but I think it definitely hurt him in Cleveland the last 4 years, that it's been a constant state of, is he here for the long term? Is he not here for the long term? Is he here? Is he coming? Is he staying? Is he go? I felt like that has hurt him, especially in Cleveland. Not so much in Miami, but I definitely think it's hurt him in Cleveland. It hasn't hurt him too much. Obviously, he won a championship and got to 4 straight finals, but, I do feel like it hurt him. And, so I implored him to say, you know what, hey, sign long-term, commit long-term. And that's what he did. He signed a 4-year contract, 130s. I always get the figures wrong. Sorry. But he signed $100 million plus max contract, 4 years with the Lakers. So he showed the Lakers that I know it's got an opt out after the 3rd year, but essentially it's a 4-year contract. That was the first surprising thing. Besides the fact that I wasn't surprised that he made the decision. It kind of was, the writing was on the wall that he was going to go to LA. I think it was way more wishful thinking from my part that he would stay, because I didn't want LeBron. Look, I'm a LeBron James hater. I've never said that LeBron's not great. I've never come on any show, any podcast, even before I had a podcast. I've never said LeBron was never great. Like, I'd be an idiot to sit here and tell you that LeBron's not a great player. My issue with LeBron is when people try to compare him to Michael Jordan, and he's not. He's not Jordan. He's never going to be Jordan. He's just not. He's just not. Like, and we don't even need to get into the arguments of why is it. That's a whole nother episode of a podcast. My issue with LeBron has been the things that he's done on the court. His passive aggressiveness, his things that he's done, his pettiness that he's done with teammates, how he's tried to basically control, him and his team have tried to control the narrative around LeBron for decades and, for a decade plus now. Some of the things that he's done, firing coaches, running teams, things of that nature, things with teammates constantly crying and complaining about not having enough players, things like that. The little things that are unbecoming of a great player, of a player of LeBron's stature. Those are the things that I've always had a major gripe and complain about LeBron. But I've never argued his greatness. Like I could sit here and maybe debate, where he stands as far as the all-time greats. Some would put him at number 2. I wouldn't necessarily put him there just yet. So those are the things I've argued, but I've never argued his greatness. Like I've always felt like LeBron James is one of the 10, 15 greatest basketball players we've ever seen. Duh. Like at this point, it's almost stupid to even argue that. But that's always been my issue with LeBron. And plus, like the entourage that travels with LeBron, Rich Paul, Maverick Carter, all those guys, and how I feel like they try to run organizations. I don't think that's going to fly so much in LA because I think Jeannie Buss is a strong personality. The Lakers are the Lakers. The Lakers are a brand onto themselves. It's not like this is the Cavaliers and LeBron James is bigger than the Cavs. LeBron's not bigger than the Lakers. The Lakers have been around before LeBron. They're going to be around after LeBron. So LeBron's not bigger than the Lakers. And not to mention LeBron, the Lakers have Magic Johnson, a similar huge personality. The Lakers have, as I burp, the Lakers have, Jeannie Buss. So they have an infrastructure already in place there that I don't think it's going to allow Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, these guys to come in and try to run the franchise. And that was the problem that he had in Miami. He tried to basically run the franchise in Miami. Miami was like, whoa. Pat Riley was like, yo, no. We're not doing that here. I'm the head honcho here. And I think that that's what caused an issue between them two. But so I just didn't want all that drama. But I mean, hey, I've had a week to kind of sit on it. And of course, LeBron coming to the Lakers, it puts the Lakers back on the map. The Lakers have not been this relevant in 5 years. The Lakers have been in it, probably the worst part of their franchise, really, in a long time in their history. The Lakers have missed the playoffs now for 5 straight years. They've been a under 500 team now for 5 straight years. They've been really irrelevant. I mean, they've been relevant in this. The Lakers irrelevant is still more relevant than like the Hornets or pick a team, the Kings. So I don't want to say like they're irrelevant on that scale, but they've been irrelevant as far as the national conversation, as far as talking about basketball in April, May, June. They've been irrelevant. So obviously getting LeBron, like that changes the entire conversation. Now the Lakers are back to being the Lakers. Now the Lakers are back to being front and center, the biggest talk in sports, or at least the biggest talk in the NBA. The Lakers, to go along with the Warriors and everything that the NBA has to offer. But the Lakers are right back there, flat dab in the center of the conversation. So that's the positives of bringing LeBron James into LA. And then the fact is that LeBron, everywhere he goes, LeBron wins for the most part. I do want to debunk this myth that LeBron has done trying to win championships, and that he's, a lot of people have said it like he's entered the mogul phase. I know Cal heard, argued that on his show this week that LeBron's, in his mogul, and he made a very good argument about, guys in the 3 levels of their careers. The show me phase, the wing, the accolades phase, and then the mogul phase. And that people argue that LeBron's in the mogul phase now, that he's not so much about winning championships now, but about building his brand and legacy. And I agree with that to a certain extent, but I disagree with this in this sense. It's not like he went to it's not like he went to the Kings, where the Kings have nothing. The Lakers have a lot of great young players, a lot of guys with a lot of upside, guys that are better than the guys that he had in Cleveland. Like, I know people would say, well, Kevin Love is better than Brandon Ingram. And I'm like, no, at least right now, you could probably make that case. Now Kevin Love is more accomplished, keyword accomplished, than Brandon Ingram or Kyle Kuzma or Lonzo Ball or whoever. But I ask you right now, I actually gun to your head right now for the next 5 years, would you rather have Kevin Love or would you rather have Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma? To me, that's a simple answer. You rather have Kuzma and Ingram. Long-term, upside-wise, you're going to be better bets to bank on than, Kevin Love. That's just a fact. But, this idea that LeBron is going to the Lakers and he's basically done winning championships because there's nothing around him, it's a bunch of garbage. Brandon Ingram, I think, is going to get better by playing with LeBron James. I think Kyle Kuzma is going to get better by playing with LeBron. So these guys are infinitely going to get better, immediately going to get better by playing with LeBron James. Like, that's two guys right there that have a chance to be really, really good players, special players in this league. And they're now going to be in a situation where they get to play with LeBron James. And then, of course, you have Lonzo, and Lonzo's a separate category in all this alone because there's been a lot of rumors that Lonzo leaked his injury about the meniscus tear so that he could avoid being traded. Who knows? I don't want to get into speculatory stuff because, we'll probably never know the full answer of that stuff. I'm always a big believer that where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't want to sit there and say that there's no way that he did that. I think that there's definitely something to that. I wouldn't put it past Lonzo and LeVar. Well, I shouldn't say Lonzo. I wouldn't put it past LeVar to do that. But, it's going to be interesting how LeBron and Lonzo are. They're on the surface, it would seem like it's not going to work because Lonzo's a guy who dominates the basketball. He's a point guard. He's a pure passing point guard. And in a lot of ways, LeBron is a pure passing point guard. So it's going to be interesting how those two dichotomies play. LeBron has not been really successful with guys who have been point guards. Kyrie, when he got to Cleveland, although Kyrie's more of a combo guard, so Kyrie, it was easy for Kyrie to kind of play off the ball a little bit more with LeBron. I don't know if Lonzo has that same capabilities, especially with his lack of shooting. So that's going to be interesting. And then you throw in the aspect that the Lakers signed Rajon Rondo. And if you guys know me, you guys know I love Rondo. I love Rondo. I think Rondo helps. If you keep Lonzo, I think Rondo can help Lonzo. Because to me, I've always said this, that Lonzo to me is a cross between Jason Kidd and Rajon Rondo. And I would say more Rondo than Jason Kidd. Like, to me, Lonzo is a taller, more athletic Rajon Rondo. And I think that having Rondo there, having that experience, his mind, say what you want to say about Rajon. Rajon to me is a smart basketball player. He's a guy that I think could help Lonzo in a lot of different areas. He's not going to help him shooting, that's for sure, but he's going to help him in a lot of different areas. But there's also a scenario where you could see the Lakers essentially saying, we're tired of the Lonzo act. Let's trade him to whatever. I don't think you're trading him to the Spurs for Kawhi, but let's trade him somewhere and get a draft pick, or let's trade him somewhere and get another star, or let's trade him somewhere to get something back. You could definitely see that scenario. Absolutely could see that scenario. Will it happen? I don't think so. I think if the Lakers were going to trade Lonzo, I think they would have traded him by now. I really believe that. I don't think they're going to trade Lonzo. I think at least for the start of the season, I think Lonzo's going to be there. It's going to be very interesting to see who wins that point guard. Because all the things you're hearing is that the Lakers brought Rondo in to compete with Lonzo, and to kind of push Lonzo. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that competition kind of plays out. But yeah, I mean, LeBron's a Laker, and I've warmed up to the idea some, I guess. I mean, again, I like the pluses more than I hate the minuses. And people have asked me all week, like, oh, how are you going to manage, man? Blah, 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 blah. You hate LeBron. Look, I don't love LeBron now. I know I made a video on Facebook Live and, let the healing begin and all that. But look, let's be real here. I'm still a LeBron James hater, but it's been suspended. We've made a business decision. We've made a mutually beneficial business decision. I don't like LeBron. I'm sure LeBron doesn't like the people that don't like him, obviously. But we're in a mutually beneficial relationship. As long as LeBron does what LeBron does, he goes out there, he plays hard, He makes us better. He makes us, infinitely better immediately. And we have an opportunity to compete for championships for the next 4 years, maybe even win a couple. We're good in my book. In my book, we're good. It's a business decision. If LeBron comes to LA and he's a bust, he's hurt, he's past his prime, he doesn't compete well, a litany of things can happen. Then you'll see that hate kind of resurface back again. So right now, I would say the LeBron James hate is on suspension. It's a business decision. Look, Steve Jobs and Apple and Bill Gates and Microsoft worked together. They collaborated with each other. They made business deals together. They didn't like each other, but at the end of the day, they were both smart enough to make business decisions together and business deals together. It's the same thing. Now, I'm not trying to compare myself to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. I want their bank accounts, of course, but I am not trying to compare myself to those geniuses. I am a cocky motherfucker, but I'm not on that level. But anyway, so the point is that this is a business decision. This is a business arrangement. So that's where I'm at with the LeBron James signing. I like it. It puts the Lakers back on the map. I have some concerns about everything that LeBron James brings to an organization, from the bad aspects of it. The politician, the kind of backroom dealer. Look, I want LeBron on the Lakers. I just don't want LeBron trying to be the GM. Let Magic and Rob build the best team possible, and LeBron just goes out there and plays. And I think that that's what's gotten LeBron in trouble in the past, is that LeBron has tried to be LeBron the basketball player, LeBron the coach, and LeBron the GM. And I think that you're going to run into trouble more times than not when you try to play those three roles as a player. So it's where I'm at with that. The Lakers made some flurry of moves. Really Sunday night, it was a fucking signing bonanza for the Lakers. It was weird. I've never seen that. You make a big signing and then it's 3 or 4 signings after that, kind of come in succession. I'm not sure I love all the signings. They signed JaVale McGee and I'm like, okay, JaVale's a nice player and he's really found himself with the Warriors the last couple years. I like JaVale as a backup center. I'm not sure that on the Lakers I like JaVale as a starter, and I still think that's why they're looking for a starting center, because I don't think they view JaVale as a starting center. They went out and signed Lance Stevenson, and then of course they signed Rajon Rondo. And I like the Rondo move because I like Rondo as a player. I think Rondo, if nothing helps, if he accepts the role, he's a very good mentor / backup point guard to Lonzo. And if Lonzo busts or doesn't, or is not ready, he's not healthy, can't take the pressure, can't play well with LeBron, then Rondo can step in and start. We've seen that before. We can see it again. Lance, I like Lance Stevenson. I think Lance Stevenson is one of those guys that you hate if he's on the team you're playing against, or you love if he's on your team. That's the thing with Lance Stevenson. You love him when he's on your team and you hate him when he's on the opposition. So, and look, Lance Stevenson's a playmaker. He's a tough guy. He's a tough-minded guy. He's a defensive guy. He can, he has his moments where he can score. I don't mind that deal. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. I think the Lakers need more consistent shooting. And I think that's the one thing with Lance Stevenson, that he's not a consistent, Lance is one of those guys that, in one game, he can get you 20 points and shoot 40%, 45% from 3. And then another game, he'll have 8 points and, he goes 1 for 10 from 3. So Lance is one of those guys where he's consistently inconsistent. I don't love those three. Outside of Rondo, I don't love the other two signings. I can like them. I like them a little bit. I see the reasoning behind it. I don't love them necessarily. I felt like the Lakers could have got a little bit better value for what they got, for those guys. Now, I know what the Lakers are trying to do. They're trying to keep their cap space for next year and beyond to maybe add another max salary, i.e. Kawhi, maybe somebody else. So I get what the Lakers are doing, signing the 1-year contracts. I just kind of felt like there was better value to get in the market than a Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee. Not that I don't like those players. I just kind of felt like there was a better value for those guys, those type of guys out there. And so moving on from the Lakers, just kind of more general free agency stuff. Then we get the bombshell on Monday evening as I'm going home from work that DeMarcus Cousins, because all weekend long it had been rumored that DeMarcus Cousins was a guy that the Lakers were going to pursue. LeBron likes DeMarcus. DeMarcus wants to play in LA. All the things that you're hearing, blah, 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 blah. And then, they signed JaVale McGee, but I'm like, okay, that still doesn't prevent the Lakers from signing DeMarcus Cousins, even Julius Randle, and I'll get to Randle in a second. But there was still I was always under the feeling, like, if they could sign DeMarcus Cousins, great, sign him. If you can't, I want them to keep Julius Randle. And I was even under the case that I was like, I kind of want Julius Randle more than I want even DeMarcus, because I'm not sure how healthy DeMarcus is going to be coming off that Achilles injury. He's a big man, 6'11", big guy. I know he's only 27, 28 years old, but he's a big guy coming off an Achilles injury. Those guys are generally never the same. Achilles injuries to me are one of the worst injuries you can get in basketball because they end careers. And guys never really truly come back the same from Achilles injuries. But whatever, be that as it may. All Sunday night you're hearing, rumors that LeBron's recruiting, DeMarcus Cousins, or that the Lakers are after DeMarcus Cousins, blah, 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 blah. And some of the moves would signify that they're kind of going after DeMarcus Cousins. And then Monday night happens and DeMarcus Cousins signs a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Warriors. That is just amazing to me. Like, that is amazing. And it's amazing to me on several fronts. Why the Lakers didn't give the same deal to DeMarcus Cousins. Like, if the Warriors were able to get DeMarcus Cousins for $5 million, I gotta believe the Lakers were able to get that same deal in place. Maybe a little bit higher. Oh, who knows? Maybe he took lesser and lesser money to go to the Warriors, knowing that the Warriors already are a championship team and set, while the Lakers are growing into that, but they're no guarantee just of yet. But whatever. I would think that you can secure that same deal from DeMarcus Cousins on the Lakers. And all the reports were that DeMarcus Cousins wanted to come to LA. The Lakers were not willing to wait on DeMarcus Cousins, meaning that they weren't willing to sign DeMarcus Cousins and essentially stash him away till January, February for him to play. Be that as it may, I don't understand that. I don't understand that, but whatever. If that is the case, then to me, Julius Randle should have been your top option after that. Not signing JaVale. Like, to me, if I had my druthers, I would have rather with that money, I would have rather keep Julius Randle, especially for the 2 years, I think he signed for 2 years, 24 or something like that. 2 years, 24. So he didn't even get a lot of money. I would have rather keep Julius Randle, not sign Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee, and then probably try to supplement those guys with cheaper, a little bit better fitting options in the market. But they didn't do that. So that was interesting. I kind of hate to see Julius Randle go. He was a guy that the Lakers drafted 7th overall back in 2014. He's a guy that I've always been a fan of. I liked his game. I like the fact that he's constantly gotten better every year. He's improved himself. He made himself into a very, very good player. I think he's going to play very well in New Orleans. I think he's going to be a compliment to playing alongside of Anthony Davis, but I wanted the Lakers to keep him. Seems like there was a rupture in a relationship between Randle and the Lakers. I think there was something there. Randle asked for be outrighted because he kind of felt like the Lakers weren't making him a priority. You can make of that what you wish. I think it's a big blow. And I should rephrase. I don't think it's a big blow, but I think it's a tough loss for the Lakers. So I think you hate to see a kid that you developed that turned himself into a very good player who you could have used. And Randle could help this team. And it would have been interesting to have Randle on this team with LeBron, with Kuzma, with Ingram, to kind of see how all those pieces kind of fit. But, it is what it is. As far as the Warriors signing DeMarcus Cousins, I was not happy about it. And I wasn't happy about it because it affected the Lakers directly. But I kind of feel like this kind of move here, this hurts the league, man. I mean, the NBA, look, I know Adam Silver can give all his speeches and give all his, the league is in its best place it's ever been, ratings, money-wise, blah, 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 da, 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 da. This hurts. I mean, if DeMarcus Cousins, and I just said that this injury is a type of injury that can end careers, that guys are never the same. But let's just say DeMarcus Cousins comes back in March. Let's just play this out. Comes back March 1st. Or after the All-Star game. Let's just say he comes back right after the All-Star game. February 16th or something. Whatever. Pick a date. And he's 75%. Let's just say he's 70%. Who's beating the Warriors? Who's beating them? Think about it. Who is beating this team? And this idea that, DeMarcus is a cancer and that people were worried about. Look, DeMarcus Cousins may be a lot of things. He's not stupid. DeMarcus Cousins is playing on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Coming off an Achilles injury. DeMarcus Cousins is not stupid. DeMarcus Cousins is going to be on his best behavior. He's playing on a dynasty in the Warriors who've already built a winning culture with a coach and a team full of winners. And DeMarcus Cousins know that, hey, I'm going to come here. I'm going to do everything they ask me to do. I'm not going to be stupid because I'm not going to fuck up my money. DeMarcus Cousins can be a lot of things. He's not stupid. Not to mention, he gets a chance to win a championship. Play with other great players. And if everything goes well, he can secure himself, and he shows that he's healthy, he can secure himself a max contract next offseason. So it's in his best interest to make this work. So I believe DeMarcus Cousins will be on his back. DeMarcus Cousins will be a fucking choir boy on the Warriors. He'll be a choir boy on the Warriors. He's not stupid. He's not going to fuck that up. But if you're the league right now, this is bad. This is bad. And I'm a Laker fan, so it's not like I'm sitting here talking from a perspective of a Hornets fan or a Sacramento Kings fan or something like that. Like, I'm a Laker fan. So you would think that I'm ecstatic and happy and joyous. And I am those things. But this is bad for the league. Like, just think, if this guy's 70%, just think if he's just 70% of what he was. Who's beating that team? Who's beating that team? The Rockets? No. The Thunder? No. The Lakers with LeBron and Kuzma and Ingram? No. Who's beating them? This is bad for the league. The NBA right now has got some serious issues. There's no competitive, and there's never really been competitive balance in the NBA. I get that. But there was always 3 or 4 teams that you could conceivably see as winning championship. There's not that right now. Right now, it's currently constituted. Is there 3 or 4 teams that can win a championship? No. It's the Warriors and everybody else. And super teams are dominating the NBA right now. They just are. And the league has a major problem. Like, just think about it right now. And I hate to keep bringing up the Charlotte Hornets, like I'm picking on them. But if you're a Charlotte Hornet fan, what optimism do you have to watch NBA basketball next year? Aside from the fact that you're just a fan of basketball. Like, what do you have to look forward to in your NBA season next year? You're not winning a championship. And okay, maybe if you have a very good year, if things break really right, you're a 6th, 7th seed, maybe. What does that get you? A 6-game series against the Celtics or the Thunder or not Thunder, but the Sixers or the Raptors? What does that get you? If you're the Pistons, what do you have to look forward to next year? What? If you're the Knicks, if you're the Bulls, if you're, some bottom feeder, the Suns, what? I mean, not so much the lottery teams, because, especially like the Suns, they have guys that they have to look, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're the Pistons, if you're the Hornets, if you're the Sacramento Kings per se, if you're those teams, like, what do you really have to look forward to next year? You're not winning a championship. If everything breaks right, you're a middling playoff team. Like, there's nothing. And that's bad for the NBA. That's bad for the NBA because I'm telling you right now, I'm asking again, who's beating the Warriors with DeMarcus Cousins at 70%? I'm not even saying that he comes back fully healthy. If he's 70%, he's better than any center that they've had ever, recently anyway. At 70%, he's better. And let's say they're all healthy. Who's beating that team? Who's beating them? Don't give me the Rockets. Don't give me the Thunder. Don't give me the Lakers. Don't give me the Trailblazers. Fuck no. Who's beating that squad? Nobody. So I think this really hurts the league. The league will deny it. They'll say, no, but look at the ratings and blah, 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 da, 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 da. They'll say all those things to try to spin it, but the facts are the facts. I tweeted when that deal came through. I was like, where's David Stern when you need him? The league owners made such an outrage that the Lakers acquired Chris Paul back in 2012. How dare they allow this? It's the Lakers getting better. It's the Lakers fleecing people, yada, yada. And that was on a trade. This is a free agency signing. And I know that they'll justify it as, well, guys have a right to go wherever they want to play. We may not like where they're going, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, free agency is your free will, your free choice. We can't control and blah, blah, blah. They'll say all those things. But this still doesn't change the fact that this is bad. This is bad for the league. There's got to be a way where Adam Silver, and this is why I can't stand Adam Silver, because he's too much on the player's bag. Adam Silver's a guy that just wants to get along with everybody. And that's smart for the most part. But I think sometimes you got to step in and say, you know what, we can't continue to allow this. This is making a mockery of our league. Again, I ask you, put your real big thinking caps on right now. Who's beating the Warriors next year? If DeMarcus Cousins is even, forget 100%, if he's 70%, 65%, who's beating the Warriors? Who's beating them? So that signing to me completely just, if there was any notion that the Lakers were going to be able to compete with the Thunder or with the Warriors, if the Warriors, for all the problems they had getting through the postseason run this year, a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of mental, erosion that occurred with that team, all the Rockets fans that are trying to convince everybody that, had Chris Paul played those last two games, the Warriors would have been eliminated. All that, for all the vulnerability that the Warriors showed, the Warriors basically turned that on its head Monday night. And said, we're still here. We're still winning. I thought the Warriors were going to win a championship anyway next year with those guys, with the current team that they had. And then they add DeMarcus Cousins. This shit isn't fair. I said it. I was like, this shit is a cheat code. This is a cheat code. Who's beating that team? Anyway, some other free agency news and notes, I guess. Surprise for a lot of us. Paul George re-signing with the Thunder. I guess there was something to those rumors about him and Russell Westbrook really hitting it off and, him really liking Oklahoma City and, him choosing to stay a long term. And he signed long term too. So it's not like he did a 2-year and an opt out or anything like that. He decided to stay long term. It's interesting. It's interesting. The fact that he never really interviewed or kind of went on the whole free agent gamut of meeting different teams and whatnot. I know he kind of spoke to some teams here and there, but for the most part, it was just kind of the Thunder. He had his mind made up that he was going back to Oklahoma City for a while now. If you kind of read the reports, if you watch his little documentary, which I didn't, it's a surprise to me. I was never really in the Paul George bandwagon. You guys have heard me saying on the show, I think Paul George is a little overrated. I think people think he's great when he's really a really good player, but I don't think Paul George is a great player. I don't think Paul George is a transcendent talent. I don't think Paul George is a guy that you put on your team and you're instantly talking about championships. I think Paul George is a great Robin to somebody's Batman. The problem with OKC is when Paul George is your Robin, he's a great Robin, but when your Batman has a litany of issues, that's the problem. And Russell Westbrook has a litany of issues. And Russell Westbrook has not proven that he's a guy that you can long term, you can win with. He's not proven that. I think he's added to that conversation. He's added to that notion as opposed to debunk it, that you cannot win with that guy. You can't win with Russell Westbrook. You can't win. And this idea that, they're another year, they'll be better, they'll be more comfortable. It could be. But again, I don't love Billy Donovan as a coach. I think that team is already capped out. I know they're about to release Carmelo, but even then they're still spending $100 and something million on that team. And that team is just not that good. Look at that roster. Outside of Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, and Paul George, who else on that team that you're even immediately impressed by? They got some good pieces. Andrew Roberson, they got Grant. They got nice little players on that team, but that team's not that great. That team's not that good. So it's surprising to me that he decided to stay in OKC, but we'll see what happens. It could be a mistake in the long run. Could be. The one that really surprised me is the amount of money that the fucking Rockets gave Chris Paul. Now I know that the Rockets are in a situation where they're trying to win a championship. Chris Paul played great for them. You know, you could argue that had he not gotten hurt, that who knows, maybe it's the Rockets are NBA champions right now. Who knows? All I know is that I think it's a mistake giving $167 million, I think it was. And I'm sorry if I'm not great with the exact figures of these contracts, but whatever. Giving a guy who's 33 years old, who's always hurt. I mean, that's the one. If you want to give, Nathan Eovaldi is perfect through 6 innings against the Mets right now. Rays lead 7-0. What else is new? The Mets are getting no hit. What else is new? Jesus Christ. Oh God. Oh God. I swear to God. Just when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. It's fucking Mets, man. Anyway, I digress. But anyway, where was I? Where was I? Oh, giving Chris Paul $167 million. Look, giving a guy who's 33 years old, who has a myriad of injuries, he's always hurt. That's the one knock that's one of the 2 knocks you can always have on Chris Paul. That Chris Paul, before this year, had never gotten to a conference final, and that he's always hurt. I mean, Chris Paul sneezes, he's out for 3 weeks. Like, Chris Paul's always hurt. And that's the guy that you're giving a 4-year max contract to? What's the last 2 years of that deal going to look like? It's going to be a disaster. A disaster. 4 years, $160-something million for Chris Paul, who's 33 years old, who's constantly hurt. I didn't think that was the smartest decision. I really didn't. But hey, it's not my money, so it's easy for me to say, but you know, I wouldn't have done that. Now, I know that the Rockets are in a rock and a hard place, between a rock and a hard place, because I know that they like Chris Paul. They like what he brought to that team. He brought a toughness. He brought a winning attitude, a winning mentality to that team that they didn't have beforehand. They can make the case that, hey, had he been healthy, or had he been just 75% of what he was, you know, who knows? We beat the Warriors. You can debate that. I still disagree. I still think that, you know, when you have a 17-point lead in a 17-point lead in game 6 and a 15-point lead in game 7, you have to win a game. I don't care who's on the court, win the game. But, you know, be that as it may. So I found that signing to be interesting. Overall free agency, I mean, I guess nothing that's really been surprising. I mean, DeAndre Jordan opted out. We knew that was going to be the case, and he signs with the Mavericks. So the Mavericks' long love affair with DeAndre Jordan is finally over. He's signed. As far as we know, no Clippers have gone to his house to try to lock themselves in and barricade the door and keep, to keep Mavs executives away from him to try to secure the deal. So far, so good, I guess. And he's going to be a Maverick, at least for 1 year, $24 million. I don't understand the love affair that the Mavericks have with DeAndre Jordan. Like, I like DeAndre Jordan, but I mean, geez, the Mavericks, it just seems like they've been connected to him for years. And I know he's a very good center, and they need a center, and they haven't had a big kind of shot blocking defensive player like that since Tyson Chandler. But I mean, geez Louise. That fucking team is just infatuated with DeAndre Jordan. But yeah, everything else has just kind of been pretty kind of ho-hum. Nothing that's really kind of caught your attention per se. Like, nothing that's like been like, oh wow, didn't see that coming or anything like that. Kind of all the signings have been kind of pretty much kind of, a lot of 1-year deals, a lot of 2-year deals. So not a lot of money being doled out. I think that's because a lot of teams don't have the cap space. So it's caused a little bit of an issue with a lot of guys not having the destinations to go to, because just a lot of teams don't have the cap space. But overall, nothing really surprising with NBA free agency. The Kawhi Leonard saga still continues, with no end in sight, really. Now you're hearing stories leaked that, the Spurs showed up to New York or wherever he was, training, he wouldn't let him in the building, and he was hiding from them. And just, all these stories are getting leaked, and I gotta be honest, they're making Kawhi Leonard look worse. And look, I didn't think you could make this guy look worse, but they're making him, if you believe everything, I gotta put that out there, if you believe everything that you hear, they're making Kawhi Leonard look, and I have no doubt that the Spurs are the ones leaking these stories, because I think they're mad. I think they're pissed off. I think they're like, okay, you want to sit there and control the narrative and want to sit there and ask for a trade and demand, we're going to leak shit out, make you look bad. And I think it's working. I mean, look, Kawhi Leonard is a great player. No one will ever argue that. But if I'm a GM of a team, I gotta strongly, seriously consider, is this a guy that I am going to invest long-term, a max contract on? A guy who quit on an organization. I mean, you can't argue that. Well, you can, but it's like, it's hard to debate one way or another that he quit on his team. This is a guy that was cleared to play, and decided, nope, I'm not playing. Nope, I don't think I'm healthy. Nope, I don't want to play, or I'm not trying to come back right now. I'll wait it out and see some more. Like, this is a guy that essentially quit on his organization. And it's not like he quit on it's not like he quit on the Kings. It's not like he quit on, the Wizards. He quit on the San Antonio Spurs, a 5-time NBA champion, one of the best ran organizations in all sports, the team of the last 20 years, the last 10, 15 years in the NBA. This is the organization that he quit on. It's not like he quit on, the Knicks. He quit on the Spurs. I'm telling you right now, if I was a GM of any team, the Lakers, any team that's after Kawhi Leonard right now, me and Kawhi Leonard and his agents and his uncle and his entourage, whoever's controlling this situation, would have to have a sit down and a long talk about what's going on. Because I would have some concerns. I would literally have some concerns. Because the Spurs organization is one of they're immune to this shit. Like, they never have these controversies. And this is a guy that essentially, I don't think you can argue it, quit on his organization. He quit on his team. He quit on Pop. He quit on those players in that locker room. That's why he can't go back to San Antonio. Like, that's why they have to trade him, because he can't go back into that locker room. How do you go back into that locker room? I know Tony Parker's gone now and he's signed with Charlotte, but LaMarcus Aldridge is still there. You would think Manu maybe might come back. I mean, Greg Popovich is still there. I mean, the guys in that locker room are still there. They're still there. So if I'm a guy in that locker room, like, how do I face a Kawhi Leonard? Like, this, knowing that this dude essentially quit on us last year, I would have a problem with that. And if I'm a GM, if I'm a coach, I would have to sit down and talk to this dude and legitimately, like, get his mind. I want to know what happened from his perspective, because that wouldn't sit well with me. And the issue that the Spurs have is that they have no leverage. They have no leverage in the situation, because teams know that he wants out of San Antonio. So teams are going to lowball San Antonio, not to mention the fact that he's a free agent in a year. He's a free agent. So if you're the Spurs, and teams are going to be concerned about giving up top flight talent and being burned. Like, I'm not going to give up look at Indiana. Indiana made out like thieves for Paul George when they made that trade with the Thunder. Cause the Indiana essentially got Victor Oladipo, a very, very good player, Sabonis, a good player, other pieces there. Like, they built their entire team now for the next 2 to 3 years on the trade that they made with Paul George. Now, imagine if Paul George leaves OKC. How bad does that look for OKC, that they gave up Sabonis, that they gave up Oladipo, and those guys became even better players than they ever were in OKC. That would have looked horrible for OKC, but they didn't. He resigned, so, they dodged a bullet there. But other teams are going to be worried about that. Other teams are going to be worried. Now, I know what people will say, well, there's no guarantee. Guys say that they want to go somewhere. Look at Paul George. Paul George, everybody had Paul George in LA last summer, blah, blah, blah. Look at him now. He's doing it. And I get that could happen, but Paul George is an exception to the rule. A lot of times these guys go in free agency, and a lot of times these guys want to explore the market. They want to leave. Or at the very least, want to see what's out there. So if I'm a team, like, let's just say I'm the Celtics. Why am I giving the Spurs Terry Rozier, Marcus Morris, and draft picks? Like, why am I doing that? Even if I wanted to get rid of those guys, even if I could stomach losing those guys, why would I? The Spurs have no leverage in this situation because A, they have to trade him. He wants to be gone, and he's a free agent. So they're losing all around. So if I'm the Spurs, I try to get the best deal available and I try to trade him. I don't think the Lakers are going to pull the trade off. I really don't. I think the Lakers are going to be smart enough to know that, hey, we're not going to go out here. We're not going to package Kuzma. We're not going to package Ingram. We're not going to package Hart. Trade our assets for a guy who's a free agent who essentially we could have next year for free, well, not for free, but you know what I mean. They don't have to sign, they don't have to trade anything for him. They can just sign him as a free agent outright. Why would you do that? Even the Sixers, like, why would the Sixers give up Saric and all those guys for a guy that they could potentially pursue in free agency next year? So I think it's very, very interesting what the Spurs are going to do. And I think the Spurs are going to try to maintain order here. I think they're going to try to maintain control of the situation. I don't think they want to be bullied or pushed into making a trade, especially a trade that they don't like. But I think the Spurs are going to have a come to Jesus moment eventually. I think the Spurs are going to have to analyze and say, okay, what are we doing here? Obviously, we can't bring him back. Obviously, he doesn't want to come back, and we have to trade him, and he's a free agent. We have to get something for him. We lose him for nothing. What are we doing here? Are we going to take the best offer available? Are we going to try to hold out? Are we going to try to bring him back into camp and just say fuck it and just deal with it? I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think they're going to say fuck it, just deal with it. Because Brandon Nimmo broke up the no-hitter. So no hitter anymore for the Mets. They're still down 7-0 and they still fucking suck. Anyway. So I don't think that the Spurs are going to do that. I think the Spurs are one way or another going to have to trade him. I don't think even the Spurs can't say, hey, we can bring this guy back. Like, I don't, there's too much that has gone on now that I don't think that you can bring this guy back. I think it's almost impossible now. I just don't see it. So it's going to be interesting what they do. It's going to be really, really interesting what they do. I think this Kawhi Leonard situation is going to be still in the news for the next couple of weeks because I don't see an end in sight. I mean, I just, if the Spurs don't get what they want, I don't see what the end result is going to be because I don't see him coming back to San Antonio. So maybe they just trade him for nickels on the dollar. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. UFC 226 last night. Daniel Cormier is now the new UFC World Heavyweight Champion. He defeated Miocic. That was a surprise for me because I did not see that happening. I didn't see Miocic basically being dominated the way he was by Cormier. I know Cormier had this, the power advantage over Miocic, although Miocic has the size advantage. Cormier is known for his power, for his wrestling, his grappling, and he kind of just dominated Miocic. I mean, I was surprised. I didn't watch the fight. I kind of watched it. I pirated it after the fact and I kind of got to watch that fight particularly because obviously we heard all the things about Brock Lesnar and him challenging Brock Lesnar, and apparently that fight is going to happen. Brock is back in UFC. Woohoo. So I like Cormier. I don't understand the hate that Cormier gets sometimes from people in the MMA community. I like Cormier. I think he's a very good fighter. And I'm very surprised. I didn't see him dominating Miocic. Like, I thought he could win, but I didn't see him dominating Miocic like that. And he completely dominated Miocic. I mean, complete domination of him, knocked him out. And he is now the, UFC World Heavyweight Champion across 2 different weight classes, rarefied air, I believe. He's not been there. I think him, Connor, another guy maybe, been the only guys that have ever done that, and essentially now setting up a fight between him and Brock Lesnar at a later date, maybe. Think you got to think sometime around the fall, maybe November, one of the big UFC shows in November, maybe, or in December, who knows. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. I thought that was interesting little tidbits that came out from last night in sports. Baseball is what it is. After today, I think we'll start to transition more to baseball, talking about baseball a little bit more. It's been real NBA centric the last few weeks. I mean, it's been with the finals and then the draft and then obviously free agency. We've had a pretty heavy NBA show the last couple weeks. So we're going to transition more to kind of talking about everything. Training camps are about to open up at the end of the month. Baseball, it's at where it's at. I got a lot of things to say about baseball. So we'll definitely get into it as the next couple weeks roll around. We'll start to, kind of disperse the love a little bit. We've been a little bit too basketball heavy, but I mean, this is the time of year to be basketball heavy. I mean, it's with the finals, with the draft and all that, everything that's going on in the NBA. I mean, it's just, so I think that this week's show will probably be the last show that we solely focus on the NBA. Aside of, maybe a big signing or a big trade. Obviously the Kawhi Leonard trade is still to be decided, I guess. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see, what happens in the NBA. But for right now, I think that this will be the last kind of full NBA heavy conversation show that we'll have for a while, at least until the season starts or whatever. So, trying to think of other things that, baseball is what it is right now. I mean, the Nationals looked dead in the water a couple days ago, actually. They got swept by the Red Sox this week. There was a lot of talk about maybe the Nationals might consider trading or should consider. I would say will consider. They should consider trading Bryce Harper. I don't see that. I don't think the Nationals will ever trade Bryce Harper. I think the Nationals still feel like they're in it. The Marlins came into town and proceeded to be the Marlins and do Marlin things and basically get beat down by the Nationals. So the Nationals have been able to kind of catch their breath here the last couple days and right the ship a little bit. So the Nationals are still trailing the Braves, I believe, by 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. So they're still in third place in that division. But I think the Nationals are still I don't think they're going to trade out Harper, obviously. They still feel like they're in it. They still feel like at the very least they can probably get a wild card spot. So, maybe the division's out, but, the wild card is definitely there. So, the Nationals were an interesting story this week. And then the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, they continue to be the 2 best teams in baseball, or 2 of the 3 best teams in baseball, along with the Astros. It's going to be interesting to see how that race plays out. The Astros are the Astros. The Mariners. I mean, the American League is pretty much set. There's not a lot of mystery going on in the American League right now. I mean, that's a bad thing for baseball. I mean, you think about it right now on July 8th, the 5 playoff teams in the American League are pretty much set with no real chance of change. I mean, I guess the Mariners can collapse. I mean, the Mariners are not a guarantee. The Angels can get hot. There's another team out there that could probably get hot. We'll see. But outside of that, I mean, I don't see much change in the American League right now. I mean, I think those 5 teams are pretty much going to be the 5 teams, in October. I mean, maybe the Mariners fall back. I don't see it, but, the American League playoffs are pretty much set. The NL is wide open. The NL is completely wide open. And this is the most wide open I've seen the National League in a long time. Like, really in a while. Like the National League is completely wide open. Like, think about it. You got the Braves, the Phillies, the Nationals, and the NL East. You got the NL Central with the Brewers and the Cubs. And then the Cardinals are still somewhat in the race. And then you got the NL West, which is a complete, wide open mess. I mean, you got the Dodgers, you got the Diamondbacks, you got the Giants. The Rockies are still somewhat in the periphery there. So, I mean, the NL is wide open right now. I mean, if you told me right now that, the Dodgers win the NL West, Cubs win the NL Central, Nationals win the NL East, I could see it. If you told me that the Braves won the NL East, the Brewers won the NL Central, and that the, Diamondbacks won the NL, I could see any one of the 4 teams in every division. Well, except for the NL East, because that's a 3-team, I can see any of the 3 or 4 teams in every division having a chance to win that division. I mean, it's completely wide open. I mean, completely wide open. There's no dominant team in the NL right now. So, even the Brewers and the Cubs, they're not great teams. They're flawed. They have their issues. I think the Cubs desperately need starting pitching. And I don't love that Cubs bullpen either. So I think the Cubs need pitching. I think the Brewers need pitching. I don't love the Brewers starting rotation, especially in October. I think the NL East, I mean, the Braves, I swear I don't know how the Braves are doing it. Because the Braves really don't have great starting pitching. Like they have some young guys that are pitching well, but I still don't love their starting pitching either. And I don't love their bullpen either. So, their offense is what carried them. So I don't know how the Braves are doing it. The Phillies could use, some bullpen help. You see the common trend there is bullpen, and pitching. So the Phillies could use another arm or 2 in that bullpen. The Nationals, the Nationals are so weird. The Nationals just need their guys to play better. Like Murphy has not had a great year. He's dealt a lot with he's had the bad knee injury. Bryce Harper's been in an epic slump. Trey Turner's up and down. Sometimes he's up, sometimes he's down. Soto's been their best player really all year, and he's only been up, 4 weeks? So Soto's been probably their best player. So the Nationals just need their guys to just play better. In the NL West, the Dodgers, they got off to such a bad start that they're finally starting to kind of get the ball rolling, but we'll see. The Dodgers aren't great. The Dodgers need more pitch. I never have loved that starting pitching. Outside of Kershaw, that starting pitching is very average to me. Very, very average. So the Dodgers to me could use another rotation piece in that, and also a piece in the bullpen. So, the Giants definitely rotation. Again, this is a common theme. A lot of these teams need help pitching wise. Arizona could use another bat. Colorado, they just need their bullpen arms that they spend $1 bazillion fucking dollars on to pitch well. But even Colorado's not out of it. Colorado can make a run here. I know that Colorado's been the one team that's been kind of a disappointment. Everybody expected Colorado to be better than what they've been. And that's the thing. Colorado's had their young pitchers. See, when you rely on inexperienced young pitchers, rookie pitchers, and that's what they did last year. They essentially relied on rookie pitchers last year, and they've all kind of come back to the pack. They've all kind of fallen apart on them. And then, of course, their bullpen that they spent billions and billions of dollars on has been a complete and utter bust. So, now the Rockies are kind of soul searching for themselves right now. What are they going to do? I still think the Rockies are still in it, but barely. So the NL's wide open. If you told me right now the Cubs can be in the World Series, I'd say, okay. If you told me right now the Brewers can be in the World Series, I said, okay. If you told me right now the Nationals or the Braves or the Phillies can be in the World Series. The National League is as wide open as I've seen it in a while. So, it's going to be interesting. I think the story in baseball this summer is definitely going to be the National League. I think the American League is pretty much set. I think there's going to be some interest in the three teams and whether they're going to win 100 games. First time ever that three teams in one league win 100 games. Burping. That's going to be very interesting. But yeah, so we shall see what happens. But, yeah, that's pretty much it with baseball. Like I said, we'll definitely, shift the conversation to talking about baseball more. We'll have some guests lined up definitely to break down the first half of the season, the All-Star game, trade deadline. We'll have some guests lined up in the next couple weeks, but that's pretty much it when it comes to baseball, man. Not much going on. Again, American League is pretty much boring right now. I guess if you're a Mariners fan, you're going to break this drought so that you have something to be excited about. Obviously, if you're a Yankee, Red Sox fan, Astro fan, you have something to be excited about. And I'm sliding the Indians because the Indians just played a fucking terrible division. That division. The Indians to me, the Indians, I think they have the biggest division lead of anybody in baseball right now. And it's not because they've just been so great. It's just because the rest of that division is just trash. The Tigers are rebuilding. The Twins have been a disappointment. The White Sox are the White Sox and the Royals are fucking god awful. So, the Indians by default, the Indians by default will win that division. The Indians could basically sleepwalk from now to October and they'll win that division by 10 games. So, if I'm sliding the Indians, it's just because that division is just so bad. But the Indians, I think the Indians need a bat. I think it's going to be interesting to see whether they get Machado. We'll break down Machado more when he eventually gets traded. There's a lot of teams that are after Machado, Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Indians. I definitely think the Indians could use him. Here's the difference with Machado and a guy like Kawhi Leonard in the NBA getting traded. Machado is definitely a 1-year rental. I don't see him resigning even if he goes to the Dodgers, a big market team. I don't see him resigning with any of those teams. I think Machado is going to be a free agent. He's going to test the market, and I think he's going to want to get a $300 million deal. A 10-year, $300 million deal. So any team that trades for Machado has to know that they're definitely getting a rental. So it's going to be interesting. And the thing is, and the difference with that and a Kawhi Leonard situation is that, there's no way he resigns with Cleveland. There's no way he resigns with Arizona. There's no way he resigns with a small market, team. Even the Braves that they're making there's no way he resigns with those teams. If Kawhi Leonard gets traded to Philly, Philly has the wherewithal financially to sign him. If Kawhi Leonard gets traded to, Portland has the wherewithal, you would think, to sign him. the Phillies, I mean, not the Phillies have money, but the Braves, the Indians, these teams don't have the wherewithal to sign Manny Machado. So if they're trading for him, they're essentially renting him for basically one pennant race. So that's the interesting part. But yeah, that the NL Central is going to be interesting to look at because it's going to be just not the NL Central, the AL Central, because it's going to be how the Indians can basically sleepwalk and win that division. But if they get Machado, I think the Indians definitely put themselves back in the conversation with the Yankees, with the Red Sox, and the Astros, because I think that's their biggest. Their bullpen hasn't been as great, as it's been the last few years. Miller hasn't been as dominant. Cody Allen's up and down sometimes. So their bullpen hasn't been as great, but I still think that if they're able to go out there, maybe get another bullpen arm and get a Machado, then I think they definitely vault themselves back in the conversation because their starting rotation is still pretty good. Corey Kluber is Corey Kluber. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Indians, but yeah, so it's going to be an interesting summer of baseball because, you basically got one league right now that essentially has been decided. So. Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, no children. Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Fouls of the week. And my foul of the week this week goes to Jameis Winston and the whole Jameis Winston saga, suspension. I know I'm a couple weeks late, but I haven't had a chance to talk about this, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it the last episode of the podcast. And obviously I didn't post the show from last week. So I guess good time to talk about it now. Just my foul of the week on this. And look, I can come at this from several different angles. I know a lot of people want to criticize the NFL and their personal conduct policy and, Goodell. And look, I never pass up an opportunity to fucking rip the NFL because I think the NFL is just stupid and hypocritical and at times racist and a bunch of things. And I never, ever pass up an opportunity to criticize the NFL. But honestly, I don't know. The only thing you could criticize the NFL is their handling and their consistency about suspensions. If they have a personal conduct policy where they're saying that no matter what the situation, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the facts are, whatever the case may be, zero tolerance for any situation involving, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, whatever, 6-game suspension. Well, then how does Jameis Winston end up with 3? And I get maybe he cooperated for, and all the other things that you hear is that he cooperated with NFL investigators and he basically was forthright and answer all the questions I needed. I get that. But if you want to knock the NFL, yeah, the fact that they're not consistent with their policies about suspensions and whatnot. And it's always a dangerous game with leagues and, private organizations when they have these kind of personal conduct policies. It's always a dangerous thing to have because as we've seen, the U.S. justice system is inconsistent in how they try and delegate and dictate laws and implement punishment. If the U.S. justice system, the system that has been put in place to, regulate and enforce laws, if that's inconsistent in how it's applied and practiced, not just by skin color, but just in any different amount of cases and situations, then how is a private organization like the NFL, who's worth billions, but still at the end of the day, it's not a judicial system. It's not a law organization. It's a fucking sports league. How are they going to get it right? So if the U.S. justice system can't get it right, how's the NFL system going to get it right? But whatever. So that's always a dangerous thing. But what do you want the NFL to do? I mean, none of us were there. So I can't speak on what happened and how it happened and what the situation was. Like I hear people say, oh, Jameis Winston didn't do it. How do you know? You weren't there. I wasn't there. You weren't there. I mean, we don't know. We weren't in that Uber with them. So I don't know what happened, didn't happen. And I'm not going to sit here and try to defend one side or the other. All I know, I'll tell you what I do know. And this is why he's getting a foul. Jameis Winston continues to put himself in precarious situations. He just does. And I had this discussion with Ken a couple months ago when Ken was on the show. And Ken is obviously a big Jameis Winston supporter. And we went back and forth on this whole Jameis Winston situation. And the biggest problem that I have with Ken is that, he's being picked on because he's black and blah, 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 blah. And to a certain extent, that may be true. But Jameis Winston isn't helping the situation by putting himself in these constant situations where there's just, it's one thing when it's see, here's the thing. NFL teams will tolerate a wide receiver acting up. They'll tolerate a DB acting up. They'll tolerate an offensive lineman acting up. They'll tolerate almost any position on the football field acting up, making an ass out of themselves, embarrassing the organization. They'll tolerate that. In some situations, they won't because they'll just cut you depending on your greatness level. Let's be fair. I mean, if you're an all pro, they're not going to cut you. If you're Richie Incognito, they'll probably cut you. If you're Orlando Pace, you'll survive. If you're Richie Incognito, you'll get cut. That's just the way it works. Just the way it works in all sports, in all walks of life. Really. You know, if Mike Trout gets in trouble, he might get a slap on the wrist. If Ronnie Torres of the Yankees is on the same team and he gets in trouble, you know what? He may not get a slap on the wrist because he's not a superstar. It's just the way it works. And anybody that disagrees or doesn't think so is stupid. That's the way it works. But the NFL, they'll tolerate almost any other guy or any other position being an ass except the quarterback. The quarterback is the face of the franchise. The quarterback is the leader of the franchise. In a lot of ways, he's the figurehead. I know they have the owner and the GM, but the NFL quarterback is the most recognized, the most important position in all sport. In all of American sports. He's the guy. And when that guy is a head case, when that guy is in trouble with the law, when that guy is in trouble constantly and puts himself in bad situations, that's just a bad look on obviously Jameis Winston, but it's a bad look on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a bad look on the entire organization, the entire NFL as a whole. And this guy continues to put himself in bad situations. It just does. It just does. You would think Jameis Winston, after going through what he went through at Florida State, if you would think anybody would be just on guard and would just not even allow himself to be put in that situation as Jameis Winston. But no, he doesn't learn. He consistently continues to put himself in these situations. And now here we are. Here we are. You would think after Florida State, which wasn't exactly a shining moment. And if you read the New York Times and if you do a lot of extra research, the way that case was handled was not a shining exemplification of law and order and abiding by the justice system. Tallahassee police was not great. Florida State was not great. And look, I don't knock Florida State. I mean, I like to rip Florida State as much as anybody, but I don't knock them because they're certainly not the first organization that's going to put winning above anything else. They won't be the first. They won't be the last. They put winning above everything else, including rape. But let's be real here. This is a guy that potentially got away with rape the first time around. And then you put yourself in a similar situation now with an Uber driver? Really, Jameis? And if I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneer owner, if I'm the Glazers, if I'm the GM, if I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks player, if I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, I have to seriously consider if this is the guy that I can build my organization around going forward. If this is the guy. I've never been a huge Jameis Winston fan to begin with. And all he's done is add to that by A, being consistently in trouble. And let's not forget, he has not been great on the field either. Now, not all of that has not been his fault. They've had 2 coaching changes. They've made some bad free agent decisions, but that team has got talent. So it's not like he's playing on a talent-starved team. But I think he's like 13 and 20 as a starter or something like that. 13 and 20. I don't know the exact figures. Let's just say he's not great. Let's just put it that way. He has not been great. And he was the number 1 overall pick, and he was seen as the savior of the franchise. And he's a guy that was picked ahead of another guy, Marcus Mariota, who right now, if you had to be fair, you would take Marcus Mariota over Jameis Winston. He's been in the playoffs. He's had a pretty good career so far. That's even with a serious broken leg that he sustained 2 years ago. Right now, you would take Marcus Mariota over Jameis Winston. You just would. And guess what? Marcus Mariota's not in trouble. Marcus Mariota is not putting his hand on on Uber drivers. And Marcus Mariota is not out there, stealing crab legs. And Marcus Mariota is not throwing footballs at fucking media personnel at practice. And Marcus Mariota is not out there giving motivational speeches and then his team gets fucking smoked. And he's not doing stupid things. And oh, by the way, he's winning playoff games. So if I am a Bucks fan and I'm a Bucks executive and I'm a Bucks owner, if I'm the Glazer family right now, I'm literally sitting back now. And I think this is the last year of his rookie deal, if I'm not mistaken. Or I think it may be like this year and an option next year. Whatever the case may be, I'm seriously considering, is this a guy that I want to invest long term to be the face of my franchise? Is this a guy that I'm going to give 20, 30, 40% of my cap to? Is this a guy that I'm going to give $30 million to be my quarterback? I think these are serious, long conversations that I think that the Glazers are definitely having right now. Now, maybe they're not having, but I think they should be. I think they definitely should be. And again, you can rip the NFL all you want. Fine. You can. But to me, Jameis Winston's the real story here. He's the real story. And he continues to be a problem. So my foul of the week goes to Jameis Winston. My leftover foul of the week, because Jameis Winston's been a foul of the week for the last 2 weeks. I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but he's been a foul. So my foul of the week, Jameis Winston. This dude's got to grow up, man. He just has to. He has to. And the sad part is that he's got talent. He's got talent. But just, I don't know if he's just got bad people around him or what. I don't know. But he's clearly not making smart decisions. And again, when you're a wide receiver, you can be an idiot. When you're an offensive lineman, you can be an idiot. When you're the quarterback, you can't be an idiot. Or you can be, but you can't present yourself as an idiot. And that's the problem. Anyway, I'm going to get up out of here, man. Enjoy my Sunday afternoon. It's nice out and I want to get out there, get outdoors and enjoy my day, man. I hope you guys have a happy, safe, blessed rest of your Sunday and rest of your week, man. It's summertime. Go out, get out, enjoy it. The weather's nice. We only get a couple of these days, man. We only get a few of these days. We only get 3.5 months of summer in most places. So enjoy it, man, before the dread of winter and fall, or depending on wherever you're at, comes back. And we're all inside miserable on a Sunday watching crappy football. So enjoy it, man. For real. I'm going to enjoy mine. So yeah, man, I'm going to get up out of here. As always, man, thank you for listening and supporting the show. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're listening, please drop us a review on iTunes. I always say that, your reviews are what keeps the show growing, what keeps the show getting noticed and growing and going up the rankings. So, if you like the show, man, just drop us a quick review, man, and let everybody know why you like the show and, give us a rating, a review, whatever, man. Anything that you could desire. I mean, you don't have to go out there and write a book report, but just give us a quick couple sentences of what you like about the show, man. It definitely helps. It definitely helps us get noticed. As always, you can listen and subscribe to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever there's podcasts available for free. We are there. Also, you can follow me on social media on Twitter. Follow me at TheManuelBrown, on Instagram at TheManuelBrown, and on Snapchat at MannyBro15. Follow the show on Twitter at TheTFPodcast1, on Instagram at TheTFPodcast, and on Facebook, The Technical Foul Podcast. Become a member of our TFP Nation. It's a fan site where you can interact with us. Part of the TFP Nation, rest of the TFP Nation, me, the host, whatever. You can just post memes, post, articles, stories, share insights, post funny memes, all that stuff, man. It's a good time. It's a good community there. There's a bunch of sports fans that get rowdy, crazy. So yeah, man, definitely join that. It's a fun time. Always. Again, I thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting the show. I'm going to get up out of here. We'll catch y'all next week with another episode of the podcast, man. I am Manny Fresh, and I am out. Peace.